Today our topic is on awkward adolescence and victorious youth. A very, very beautiful statement made by Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji was that teenagers and youth are not useless. Many times people say, no, they're useless, they're all aajkal na chokra. How are they? He always used to say teenagers and youngsters are not useless, but they are used less. You know this very famous and popular story. There was this lion cub which got lost and it got mingled with a herd of sheep. The mother died or something, the lioness died, and here was this little cub, helpless, and got mixed up with the herd of sheep. And all it heard all its life was bleating. And that is why it tried to imitate. And the sound that it brought out was almost like a funny bleat. Because it can't bleat properly anyways. But that's what it did all the time. And then it would go around and he thought his friends were all these. And the sheep were his friends. And one day, he saw a herd of lions. And when these lions were there, these lions saw this little cub. And they said, ye to apna hai. This one is our variety. And all the other sheep, the minute they saw the lion, ran away, bleating. And this little lion, he stood by. Why? And at that time, the lion roared. And this little cub also, he wanted to. Till now, he was bleating. And then he got confused. He says, this is some strange sound. And I am not scared. And why are my friends all scared? And where did they run away? And it, from within itself, brought out this big, huge roar. And says, hey, I thought I was one of them. Now I realize I'm one of them. It realized its potential and then it joined the group of the lions, going away from the group of sheep. Have you all understood? Very often we have this fantastic, unbelievable, infinite potential which is lying in us. And right now what are we doing? Bleating away. Not even using 1/100th of that total potential. Little, small. And we think that's the big thing, as though we've done big things. They're really tiny things we've done and not even realized our full potential. And that is why Gurudev always used to say, youth and teenagers are not useless. They are only used less. Their full potential is never realized. They themselves are unaware. Forget about manifesting any of it. They are themselves unaware of their potential and therefore they are never able to perform to the peak of their potential. And the second, because what happens is you compare yourself with small, little achievements. He got 25 marks and I got 27 marks. Oh, what a big achievement, isn't it true? And this is all we compare ourselves with. This one is a little more, and that's it. Our goals are also so, like small and so therefore where do we reach? Nowhere great. What is your goal of life? Oh, I want to go to UK. Okay. Can I go to UK, ma? I'll go into this university. Oh, bus. I'll get a degree. I'll get a house. And then what I'll do? I'll get a car. Car? Oh, Mercedes. Okay. This all these little things. My friend ne any Toyota che, etle mare Mercedes che. And I want a little more, and a little, and all these little things, and all we remain. We remain small because we think small. We never think big. Then the second statement he made was so beautiful. He would always say, and always many of you must have been told, youngsters are all careless. So he would say, the youth are not careless, they are cared less. They need to be taken care of more, and then you will see what happens. So there's a very lovely experiment that was done. It was called the Pygmalion effect, which they did research somewhere in Europe in a school. They picked up students at random without telling them that they have been picked up at random. And then they said, this particular group of students, they are really brilliant. This was what they were told. And you are brilliant and you can do anything and you are fantastic and the sky is the limit. And the other group of students were picked up again at randomly, and they were told, you can do nothing. You all are good for nothing. You will come to nothing in life and you better forget it. You will not go anywhere. Now, what happened? At the end of about 1 term and 2 terms, they found that the students who had been told, who were actually quite brilliant, and who had been told that they were brilliant, they fared really excellent, which was again expected, but the students who were not so good also, because they got this encouragement that they can do a lot, they performed very well, and they also started progressing at a very fast rate. Whereas even the brilliant students who were told that they were completely useless and nothing could come out of them, they fared very badly and they could not, their grades started going down, even though they were quite brilliant. They called this the Pygmalion effect, and they said this is what happens in many, many cases. When people are all around tell you you are useless, you can't do anything, what happens? You actually do according to what others tell you. So remember, they are not useless, but they are used less. And they are not careless, but cared less. So we must do something about that. Now, change is a fact of life. Everything changes, everyone changes. And that's good, it's wonderful. One of the very, very important things that we should be taught is how to cope with change. Because change is inevitable. That's the only changeless law of the world, that everything is changing. Is it true or not? Nothing remains. People don't remain the same, relations don't remain the same, nothing remains the same. The world changes, fashions change. Isn't it? A few years back, if anyone had spikes in their hair, he'd be called a weirdo, right? And now, cool. Isn't it true? So each one, like at different times. There are some times when the long hair is the fashion, sometimes the short hair which is fashion, at different times. So therefore, everything changes, anything, nothing, no relations. It's a very, very strange sort of a situation. See, when parents are like, the kids are really small, then they go after the mummy and say, "Mummy, mummy," and the mummy says, "Akho divas mummy, mummy su kare cha? Ja, tari mete ram." Go and play on your own. Don't do mummy, mummy all the time and keep holding on to me. Come on, play on your own, come on. And then what happens? The same child grows and and the mother and the father become old. And then what happens? The mother and the father, beta, beta. And what does the beta say? Akho divas beta, beta su karo cho, tamari mette karo na kai. Now why are you doing all, mummy, mummy, mummy all the time? You do everything on it. My dear son, you do on your own. Now just imagine how relations change. At one time, the child went after the parents. The other time, what? This is it. Everything changes. Now, if we know that change is inevitable, don't you think all of us must learn how to cope with change? Understand change? Anticipate change? Deal with change? And unfortunately, this is not done. And therefore, what happens? There's a very lovely book called Future Shock, written by a person called Alvin Toffler. He talks that people, however much, outside things are changing, but psychologically man has not changed, and therefore he's not able to cope with change, and he goes into what he calls the future shock. Now, if you have understood everything changes from childhood, you have first stage of life is called Shishu, infancy. Completely helpless and absolutely nothing. You do nothing. In fact, the child who does nothing makes the whole world do everything. Is it true or not? In life also remember, the one who does nothing makes others work 100 times more, right? The whole house, is centered around that infant. He does nothing. He just sits around, smiles away, cries away, and sleeps away. And the whole house is moving around him. Then slowly he goes from infancy, from Shishu Avastha, he goes into Balak Avastha or childhood. Then what happens? He starts moving around a little more, lots of physical changes. He's discovering the world, he's discovering himself. And his immediate family is the thing in his life. For him, that's everyone. And a little later, he enters into what is called Kumar Avastha. Kumar is pre-teens. There again. And that is the time when they are at their creative best. Ideas coming there. They're very, very creative at that time. Very, mobile and they can do a lot of things. And then they enter into this very, very amazing age, which is between childhood and youth, which is called teenagers, adolescence. Or, here it is called, it's a Shishu Avastha. After that is called what? Kishore Avastha. The word in Sanskrit for that adolescent is called Kishore. Some names also are there, no? Indian names, Kishore. Permanent teenagers. Kishore Avastha. Now, this is a very funny age. It's a transition between childhood and youth. And in this, because it's a transition period, there is a lot of confusion at every level. In the child, in the parents, in everyone. Everyone around, there's a confusion. If you ask in any school, which is the most difficult age to handle, they'll say, I don't know here what you call it, form whatever, but in other words, in India, we call it 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. Just before uni. This is all this one age that is sitting over there. That's the one. All schools anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's in Africa or it is India, you go there, they tell you this is the age, the most difficult to deal with. You ask mummy, daddies, they will say, I don't know what happened. આ મારા છોકરાઓ હતા અને આઈ નો આજ 3 વર્ષ પહેલા કેવો હતો અને હવે કેવો થઈ ગયો છે કાંઈ ખબર જ નથી પડતી શું થઈ ગયું સમજ જ નથી પડતી what happened I don't know what happened it's my child but something's wrong isn't it the world doesn't understand what's happening and they've passed through the best part of it they've all passed through that same age and they've completely forgotten what happens in that age. So it's a very, very funny age in the sense because it's a transition period between childhood and youth. And the best part of it is the confusion is not just outside, there is more confusion inside. And because there's this total confusion, what happens? The opposite is what is shown outside. Is it true or not? So the maximum acting cool happens in this age. When there is nothing cool over here, what is shown is what? I don't care. Who do you think you are? It doesn't matter. But I'm going to do this. Okay. Do your worst. Now inside there is a lot of turmoil. Completely the opposite of what's going outside is shown inside. Completely. There is a lot of uncertainty about yourself, about the world, about everything. But what happens because of this turmoil that's going on inside, what is shown outside is completely the opposite. Now, of course, bodily changes are happening. The mind, emotions are really sometimes going haywire. Hormones at play. And you peak in terms of your physical strength and ability by the age of 16. Therefore, you see all the athletes in the world, they'll be all 16, 18, maximum. By 20, you start aging, and the rest of the time, what happens? After 20, it is only downhill. You understand? It's only downhill. After 20, you peak at a particular, all strength, everything, and then it just goes. So therefore, in every possible way, your physical energies, everything are at its peak. The mind is all absolutely active and agitated so often, and therefore, and that is why most of the teachers would complain, "Eh logo koi dhyan aj nathi aapta." They are totally distracted, no one listens. Isn't it true? Teachers complain? Now, one of the most interesting things that happens, of course all of you know about the physical changes, etc. One of the most interesting things that happens is that intellectually you start questioning authority. A very, very important thing in life, a very important stage of growth of life is that you start questioning authority. Whoever you have taken as authority till now, and therefore what happens, the first person that a teenager starts questioning is the immediate